3 Lord of the Rings films. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
It is the wonderful book to adapt. It's fantastic.
So, did Rings of Power fix LOTR's mistakes? Did that happen? I don't really think that happened. I read the Screen Rant article, and it covered that premise, or really the premise of the article was that Rings of Power fixed all of Peter Jackson's mistakes. Did Peter Jackson make any mistakes? That's an entirely different video. I'm not going to address that here.
Hollywood is stopped taking risks. Hollywood has become a little bit safe.
What I'm going to address is, let's start with the elephant in the room, having people of color. Did that really bother me? Having a black elf, having a black dwarf, that didn't really bother me. What bothered me, for example, with Rings of Power, as I stated in the other video, and I'll link it at the end here, is that they kind of like used these actors of color to kind of promote a message that wasn't necessarily in line with where they really should have devoted their energy. They kind of used these actors of color as a sort of like a shield, and that really in of itself was problematic and borderline prejudicial, to be quite honest, because they just sort of like used them as a shield to hide the deficiencies in the writing in Rings of Power. And I've stated that across many different videos. I'm not going to get too deep into that. I'm just going to stay surface with that. So I covered the elephant in the room. Other issues that they brought up, so they said like it was awesome that Rings of Power had a bunch of different timelines, but really they were compressed and they didn't totally work. Like they changed the hobbits into Harfoots, and they made the hobbits' ancestors not really likable. Though I personally enjoyed the Harfoots, the truth is that the Harfoots in Rings of Power are not really nice people. And it wasn't the fact that there were so many quote-unquote blacks in the Harfoots that made it difficult to mess with them. It was really the idea that they really were the kind of people that, if we really are honest, like they would leave their dead friends.
Just alive 1,000 years. Our laws are clear. Any Harfoot that breaks them is to be decaravanned.
They'd leave people to die, and it was just this really deep narcissism that inhabited the Harfoots, which really is not the spirit of our understanding of the race of hobbits at all.
We can't carry the cart without you. We're going to be left behind.
In life, we could not wait for them.
Other things that, just going to this article that they sort of brought up, they talked about Sauron. I did a completely distinct video on Sauron, and like Halbrand, they picked an actor who really, he looks phenotypically like Aragorn. Now, the actor himself, I don't think he's a bad actor. I think he did a good job with what he was working with, but I don't know that, for example, there really was no mystery that he was Sauron. And especially if you saw him beat up those people in Numenor and didn't still understand who he was, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the cat should have been out of the bag when he pulled like some hardcore like Krav Maga / self-defense moves on these guys. Should have been clear who we were dealing with. Continuing on, the article like broached some other issues that they found in Peter Jackson's work. They said that like Peter Jackson really mischaracterized Elron, and that the new Elron was better. I don't think the new Elron was better, though I think the current actor for Elron is a good actor. I don't think he's a bad actor, but I think, to me, their characterization in the Rings of Power, especially around the male elves, that they're a little bit weaker, it doesn't totally work. If they wanted to kind of have a more modern version, or kind of have some quote unquote weaker or more, I don't know if I want to say kind, because they just sort of like made a lot of the male elves weak when we're dealing with the oldest race on Middle Earth. So I don't know if that totally works. Anything else that I can think of right now? I think that's the gist of what I want to say right this second. You can go to www.sabkhaz.com. I got t-shirts there for you. They help support the channel and help support my continuing to make better and better content. Peace.
Every time I was like, okay, take a breath, something new would happen, and it was something new would happen, and it was something new would happen, and it was something new would happen, and it was